Over 60 years ago, our Congress was faced with the duty of helping returning veterans from the battlefields of World War II assimilate back into their lives as civilians. Though none denied the value of the sacrifices made by these soldiers, there were those who did not see their potential and doubted their ability to succeed in the classroom as they had on the battlefield. Thankfully, reason won out, and in 1944, the GI Bill was passed. It was a victory not only for the veterans, but for the American economy as well. These young soldiers who brought the world back from the brink of peril in the battlefield would be heroes again and bring their country back from the brink of economic peril. At its peak, soldiers taking advantage of the GI Bill from 1944 accounted for nearly half of those attending college in the United States. And by the time the original bill expired, nearly half of all returning veterans had taken advantage of their new educational benefits. Along with the provision providing VA loans, the educational benefits of the GI Bill helped to create and strengthen a new middle class in this country. Now, over 60 years later, we find our country again at a crossroads where we must decide on how we will face a whole new set of challenges. Fighting on two war fronts, facing a housing crisis where millions are losing their homes, families struggling to pay their basic cost of living and healthcare expenses, parents who cannot afford to help their children to realize their dreams of pursuing higher education. Many of these families and young Americans have chosen our military as a means of honorably achieving their educational goals and escaping the failing job markets of towns and cities where their jobs have long gone overseas. Will we make the choice to invest in these young men and women again with a new comprehensive GI Bill for the 21st century? Will we reward their service and invest in the future of our economy by broadening their opportunities in education? If we will not invest in the future of those who serve one of the highest callings of our nation, then what does that say for our resolve and dedication to the very ideals that these young men and women serve to protect? Today, the Senate passed the bipartisan 21st Century GI Bill presented by Senator Jim Webb and supported by leading veterans advocacy groups, including the Veterans of Foreign Wars. The bill offers educational assistance in proportion to the total length of active duty service on or after 9/11, from 3 to 36 months. It rightfully acknowledges and ensures equity among active duty and National Guard and Reserve members for their wartime service. It would provide a maximum benefit of the cost of any in-state public schools tuition and fees for 4 academic years and any additional contributions from colleges and universities whose tuition is more expensive than the maximum and matches any additional contributions from colleges and universities whose tuition is more expensive than the maximum assistance. In addition, the bill increases the amount of time soldiers can utilize this benefit from 10 to 15 years after they have left their active duty service. These provisions to support our troops received overwhelming support in the Senate today, passing by a vote of 70 to 26, with Republicans coming across the aisle to support Senator Webb's Democratic proposal. Despite this, the President has threatened to veto any war spending which includes domestic spending. The logic follows that we will provide funding for them to fight overseas, but will not provide the funding they need for an education once they get home. I would ask that each of you call on the President to honor the service and sacrifice of our veterans and invest in our economy here at home by investing in our people. Tell the President not to veto this bill. I can think of no better way to say it than using the words of Eric Hillman, Deputy Director of Legislative Affairs for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. He said, and I quote, in a press conference with Senator Webb introducing this bill, "Supporting the troops is the commitment to care for them when the uniform lies folded in a drawer." Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Philip Gilfus. I'm a former Army captain and Iraq veteran and a personal recipient of the GI Bill. I'm currently enrolled at Campbell University at the School of Law. I volunteered to join the Army after the attacks of 9/11, and I volunteered to deploy to Iraq in spring of 2005. And I'm speaking here today because of how much I support the post-9/11 Veterans Educational Assistance Act, which passed the Senate overwhelmingly today, and I ask President Bush to sign this into law as soon as possible. I receive a monthly benefit of $1,000 and $1,251 a month. Those benefits include a basic GI Bill benefit, which I initially paid $1,200 into while I was serving in the Army. This benefit that I received applies to my fellow soldiers who served 3 years or more in the military. So, but my yearly cost of going to Campbell Law School is approximately, including tuition, books, and living expenses, is approximately $46,000 a year. And I get a yearly benefit for my GI Bill of about $15,000. So the GI Bill barely covers 1/3 of my benefit, of my tuition a year.
My name is April Padilla. I am a military spouse. My husband, Sergeant Philip Padilla, he's been deployed to Iraq 3 times, and he is now serving in Afghanistan currently. So this morning when he called me from a combat zone, he was very proud of me for coming here today because our livelihood really depends on our Commander-in-Chief signing this into law. He's serving his 5th year, and he is in psychological operations. He actually went into the Army because both of our families come from very strong military backgrounds, and they've been farm workers. Some of them have won their citizenship by fighting in the Korean War and World War II. So we are very proud to serve this country, and it really offends me when President Bush and Senator McCain and many other top brass in the military say that this bill will affect retention, because a lot of times people don't sign up to serve their country because they're, how do I say this, trying to gain a lot of benefits. It's actually it's the most selfless service that you can make. And the fact that that's why President Bush is really threatening to veto this bill, it doesn't make any sense. And I just really want you to sympathize with our situation. My husband will be ETSing, getting out of the Army in November, and he plans to attend university in the fall of 2009. So these benefits really affect our livelihood. It affects his ability to continue his service to this country through education. And how else do I say this? That he's put a lot of his heart and soul into the Army.
My name is Charles Pennington, and I am a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom, or as many other people more commonly know it, the Afghanistan War. I've been out of the military now a little over 4 years, and I currently use my GI Bill. I have friends of mine who after high school went straight to college. I chose to serve my country. Now, years later, my friends are further ahead of me in life because they have that education. They started school back when school was less expensive. Now that I'm trying to start school and get my education, not only is school more expensive, but I feel like I'm getting a slap in the face from the government that isn't willing to provide enough of an educational benefit for me to go to this university. I'd like to encourage President Bush to pass this new GI Bill into law, not for me, but for all the veterans that are continuing to risk their lives every single day, to risk their families every single day for the better of this country. I'd like to ask President Bush to return their favor, not by risking his life, but by saying thank you by signing this GI Bill into law. Thank you, guys.